so we've got a new and second Captain Marvel trailer in a week that I suspect will be full of Marvel surprises. You might already know this by the time this video goes out, but Jeremy Renner said that we're going to be seeing some Avengers 4 in a couple of days.
I will be seeing some of it actually in a few days, so I can't wait not to tell you what happened.
And who knows, maybe he'll actually be in this one. Imagine if he wasn't though. People would go crazy. I'm kind of just hoping he's a pile of ash at the start of the movie. Alright, let's do a trailer breakdown thing, and then probably again in a few days for the Avengers one. Unless they change the date, which some have speculated that they will, which would be great, because that would unruin my week. But in the meantime, let's talk Captain Marvel Easter eggs in relation to characters, confirmation about the year this movie is set, comics that it's based off, weird and new Captain Marvel origins that might be worked in, some sweet callbacks, and more things almost certainly. Also, I've hidden 8 sexy Jude Laws throughout this video. If you can find all of them, let me know, bearing in mind there will be no prize. That I promise you. Okay. This version of Captain Marvel has been confirmed to have a bit of an off-kilter origin story, as stated by President of Marvel Studios and guy indirectly responsible for the inception of the Dark Universe, Kevin Feige.
This one is very different and very exciting.
What's different about it?
It takes place in the 1990s. And while it is an origin story of our hero, it is a very different type of origin story, which we're excited to unveil to audiences.
What does that mean? Well, at this point, it's unclear, but I have speculated before on what a different origin story for Captain Marvel might mean. You see, the standard Captain Marvel origin is that she's caught in the explosion of a psych magnetron, altering her on a cellular level. Hey, remember the movie Cellular? And effectively making her a superpowered human-Kree hybrid. My last trailer breakdown details this more, probably, plus all her powers. I don't know, I don't really remember what I did in that, but I'll link it below and at the end if you want to check it out. I do, however, think it's possible that this explosion actually did something else in addition to her powers. It appears as if in the aftermath of this accident, Carol Danvers leaves or is taken from Earth and then is recruited for nefarious purposes by Starforce, led by Jude Law, whom I want to get back to. The trailers hinted her struggling to remember her past, and we know from a toy reveal that she's referred to in space as both Captain Marvel and Vers. Vers, presumably because she either can't remember her full name, or more likely that what was found on her was one half of her dog tags. The part that we see in the trailer has Carol Dan, and presumably the piece left with her says Vers. Presumably. This is probably less likely, and I have speculated on this before, but I think it's also possible that she's actually a Skrull that's been given some of the memories of Carol Danvers. The reason I think this still might be the case is because of that unconventional origin thing that Kevin Feige was talking about. And also there is precedent for a Captain Marvel thinking that they're Captain Marvel, but they're not Captain Marvel. They're really a mind-altered Skrull. Ben Mendelsohn stepping in with the line, something, something, you don't know who you are, or whatever.
Would you like to know what you really are?
Yeah, that one. That could lend itself to this theory. Speaking of Skrulls though, this is something that wasn't made clear in the last trailer. The moment where she's hanging upside down with the electricity zapping into her head. We've all been there. In that moment, there's a Skrull standing next to her. Now yeah, this could be your run-of-the-mill space torture, or maybe it's the Skrulls attempting to restore her memories, and that's what sets her on her path back to Earth. And it looks like it's from earlier on in the film because she's wearing a green outfit. I'd say though there's definitely more to this Kree-Skrull war than we're being told. I mean, she's so confident that the Kree are this universal force for good.
And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
When in reality, and by reality I mean fiction, everyone on her space team is from Marvel Comics, and they're all villains. Some are even villains from other Marvel movies. Whatever is going on here, it's unclear at this point in time, but what we do know is, and spoilers, skip to this point in the video if you don't want to know about Youngledor's true identity, he's actually playing that of Yon-Rogg, and not the original Captain Marvel. In fact, we don't even know if the original Captain Marvel even exists in this universe. This reveal was of course spoiled by merchandise. These kind of things are really hard to avoid, especially if you're not quick enough to skip them in a trailer breakdown video. Maybe it's the case that Yon-Rogg might be some sort of Captain Marvel Yon-Rogg combination, a mentor slash enemy, but whatever the case is, I think he's largely responsible for her memory gaps, or at least keeping her that way, and then having her fight in this galactic-wide Kree-Skrull war. It also looks like that he's the one that initially finds her on Earth. Also, he's definitely the villain, because only villains say things like this.
But you're not as strong as you think.
I say though, I think he's the one that finds Carol Danvers, as it appears as if there's more than one crashed ship. Also, Also, it's interesting to note that her blood is blue after the crash. So maybe she's partially merged with the Kree then, but it's unstable, so she's whisked away, and the process is stabilized using blue blood and tube technology in space by aliens and Annette Bening. Speaking of Annette Bening, who's she playing? We don't know, but here's something she once said about her role.
It was so much fun, and I can't tell you why. Oh. Because then it would give something away. Is all I can tell you. It was like when you're a little kid and you imagine what it would be like to be in a superhero movie. That's what it was like.
That's what it was like.
Some have speculated that she's the supreme intelligence, the leader of the Kree Empire, a being composed of the greatest minds in the Kree Empire. You know, which is like the opposite of that political leader you hate. I mean, I hate to bring politics into this video about comic book movies, but that person you hate really sucks, doesn't he or she? And they don't know anything about whatever it is the job is that they do. Both of us are sick of it, me and you. Annette Bening, though, whomever she may be, I think turns out to be the big bad and the architect of this whole war. We get Carol Danvers telling someone this.
I'm not gonna fight your war. I'm gonna end it.
And if you look closely at the room she's standing in, it looks very similar to the room that they're standing in together earlier on in the trailer. Then there's probably a bit of a bloody punch up and shooting lasers or whatever. Look forward to that. We get a little bit more of Ronan looking over Earth, overseeing some kind of space battle, space invasion, space situation. I mean, do you really need any more evidence that some or all of the Kree might be bad guys? I mean, this fanatic who's mates with the young Pope was working with Thanos till he went against Thanos because he wanted to exploit the planet that John C. Reilly lived on, which is frankly unacceptable. It's also been said by Kevin Feige that this incarnation of Captain Marvel will take inspiration from a recent Kelly Sue DeConnick run.
Yes, the history of Captain Marvel goes back and is rather confusing. The one we're doing is based on Carol Danvers, and in particular, the Kelly Sue DeConnick run, which has only been around the last few years, but is really quite inspirational for us.
Probably this one that kicks off with her leading a space team in space. He mentions that the history of Captain Marvel is confusing, which it is, and I guess this kind of helps streamline it. In addition to this confusion of her origin, because why not whilst we be at it, a recent Captain Marvel story had the startling revelation that she was always a Kree hybrid, as her mother was a secret Kree this whole time. Her mother's real name being Marie L, and hers being Kal-El. It's kind of Superman-esque. The point is, there's a crazy amount of variation in the Carol Danvers origin, and frankly, I don't know which one or any combination of different origins they are doing. Another minor reveal, though, is related to Carol Danvers' cat, as first seen in this poster a while back. Also, technically, it's not a cat in the comics, it's a space cat. I'm not going to get into that, I think I already have. But that cat has had a name change from Chewie, based off that of the Star Wars Dogman, to Goose, based off that of the Top Gun Deadman. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly mention this, but in my last video I did this whole in-depth analysis of the exact year that this movie is set, based off something like when Blockbuster Video changed its name in the mid-90s, and also a specific LA train line, or maybe I just did a bunch of research on that and didn't put it in the video. I don't remember. Whatever the case may be, I came to the conclusion that this movie is probably set in 1995. Well, now we know it is, because of this reveal on a Japanese Disney site. I'll tell you what, that would have been really handy to know months ago, but now at least we know for sure that thing that we didn't really need to know. And speaking of things you didn't need to know, did you know in this recently released image, there's a phone number that at one time was used on the show, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And if you rang that number, it would say, "Thank you for calling ABC. The number you have reached is a fictional, non-working number used for motion picture and television productions." But ABC mustn't have renewed this because now it's a phone sex line. That's the kind of insight I like to bring to the movie trailer breakdown game, and I just want to clarify that everyone else who doesn't mention this in their videos has the heart of a coward. People, I mean some people, I don't know, are still wondering how Captain Marvel's role will factor into Avengers 4. Other than she was called in at the end of Infinity War, we don't know much. There is a prequel comic to this movie that indicates that Fury will only call her if he absolutely has to, and half the life on Earth disintegrating, that lends itself to a space page. Also, as hinted at by this line in the trailer,
We made you one of us, so you could live longer, stronger, superior.
don't expect to see Captain Marvel having aged 20 plus years since 1995 when she first shows up. Brie Larson has also signed on to 7 movies in this franchise. And her being 29, I can't imagine she'll look that much different by the time her contract is up. I mean, look at Chris Evans. He's barely aged a day. Then again, I suspect he's made some kind of deal with a demon for infinite handsomeness and infinite muscles. A couple of things to note that might be good to end on. Of course, you can end this video whenever you want. Maybe you already have. If you're not watching now, right now, please let me know. That's a mid-90s Shield Quinjet that they're hijacking. We caught a glimpse of that in the last trailer, but here it is in all of its glory. It's being swiped from Shield and Ben Mendelsohn because if you weren't aware, he's playing both a Skrull and in his human form, Nick Fury's boss. Just to clarify, this is not separate roles. This is the same guy. This isn't some kind of Norbit situation, sweet reference. Also, I can't help but think the more I see Nick Fury, the more I tend to lean towards that he's probably already lost an eye in some of these shots and they'll just be CGIing on an eye patch. Marvel are notorious for CGIing on and off eye patches. It's their bread and butter, so why would they stop now? We also see in this hangar the name Pegasus. Pegasus stands for Potential Energy Group / Alternate Sources / United States, which means this facility might be the same one referenced in multiple Marvel movies and TV shows. Project Pegasus was the name of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret operation that spent years, potentially decades, trying to discover the secrets of the Tesseract. This could very well be the same facility from the start of the Avengers movie in 2012. That's very possible, because anything is possible, if you believe it. I mean, just look at who the president is. Whoa! Let's not get political. This is a comic book movie video. Settle down, everyone. All right, that'll do it. Did you find all the dude laws? I hope so, because remember, you can win the prize of no prize. But you can actually win a Samsung TV in my last video, if you want, actually. That is not a joke. I will link it below. But is there anything of note that you'd like to add about this trailer? Or are you really more hanging out for the Avengers 4 one? If you do want to see my video for that, you can subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Mr. Sunday Movies. Because for good or ill, I'll definitely be making a similar breakdown video on that when it comes out. Also, this Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, we'll be getting into all the big Marvel reveals from this week. That's also linked below if you want to come along for the ride. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.